Hey guys, I know you guys have been waiting for this video for a long time, but here it is. We did a road trip from Mombasa, Kenya, all the way to Rwanda. On the way, we had a few stops here and there to do exploration in different towns, and we used the Isibania border, the one that is in Migori. That one to get into Tanzania. We did some exploration in Mwanza. I love the Rock City. And then we went all the way to Rusumo border, which is the Tanzania-Rwanda border. And we went all the way to Kigali, Rusumo, Kigali, Gisenyi, just to explore Rwanda. We did a lot of exploration, guys. So if you've not watched that video, please catch up because you're about to begin a different series. There are almost 10 episodes, which I will combine into one full documentary. But if you would like to watch it slowly, you can just watch episode after episode from 1 to around 10. So guys, you've been asking about so many questions. You've been asking so many questions about this road trip, the car I used, the gear I used, how much was the accommodation, how much was the total budget, how much fuel, and all that. So there are so many questions, but I've grouped them into different groups, and I'll try to answer as much as possible. Let's start with the car. The type of the car, this is a Subaru Impreza. I think it is a GH2. That car has been a lifesaver for me and my friends because it ensures that we go anywhere we want to go. As long as we have fuel, it doesn't matter where we will sleep. The car is a very resilient car. So far, we've not had any breakdown because we do services. We do proper services. That one I just have to give a shout out to my mechanic. We do a thorough service for the car before we do any road trip to ensure that we do not have any breakdowns on the road. And the only is it really an accident? The only hiccup we had on the road was a flat tire somewhere around Bomet when we were heading towards Isibania border. But we fixed that one. It was just a puncture. We fixed that one and we just went all the way. We experienced the trip and it was just, the car is our fifth member. We are usually, most of the time, we are usually like 4 people. Plus the car, it becomes 5. The car is pearl from its color. You see it is pearl white, so it is pearl and it is a rare gem because not so many cars can be that resilient. Now, you guys have been telling me to approach Subaru for sponsorship. I'm excited to have such a sponsorship for the car to be checked, service and all that. Of course, I would like that, but I don't know. Do this, guys. Tag them in each of my video and everywhere where there is you see the car. In any of my videos that you see the car, just tag Subaru Kenya and let's see if they'll give us a sponsorship. Now, the fuel consumption of this car, it is not as low as maybe if you have a Toyota Vitz, and it's not as high as if you have like those big cars. It's just average. Now, if you want to do some calculation to estimate the amount of fuel that you consume, you need to do the calculation. You have to confirm the distance, and then you divide by the consumption of your car, like per kilometer. Like to do like 1 liter can cover how many kilometer, or how many kilometers can 1 liter cover. You have to do that math. And for our car, the total amount of fuel, that is, remember we did not take like a straight line like from Mombasa to Nairobi to Isibania and then to Rusumo and then to Kigali. We were stopping in each town and doing tours. If you watch the video, you can confirm that. Like Mwanza, we stayed around 3 days doing some tours around Mwanza. We love that city. Mwanza, Tanzania, actually. And then we went all the way to Kigali. We did a lot of touring in Kigali, Gisenyi. The total amount was 71,636. And just going was around 36,782. If you'll be doing a lot of exploration, which will require you to drive around a lot, just know you'll consume more fuel, or it also depends with your car. You'll consume more fuel, and if you'll be going just straight, of course you'll consume very less fuel. So I can't tell you that is the actual figure for every car. It depends with how heavy your foot is on the accelerator and the type of car you have and how much distance you will cover. So you have to bear that in mind. Okay, there is also the food part. One thing you need to know is that in Tanzania, food is cheaper than Kenya. Usually, you guys, we don't go to the very high-end hotels. We are budget travelers, and we also prefer street foods or traditional foods, or once in a while you can eat in a fast food store. So that means that we eat average or slightly lower, depending on what your definition of average is. You could spend maybe 300 shillings in Tanzania, around 300 Kenyan shillings per day for the meals. And we stayed a lot. While in Tanzania, we stayed in bed and breakfast. That is also another trick you need to know. If you know you're not good at cooking, or you don't want to cook in your journey, as economical as it is, usually it is economical by the way to cook. But if you know you're not going to cook, ensure that the Airbnb you book has an option for breakfast, or you stay in a bed and breakfast hotel so that it can cover your expense for the breakfast. Always remember that. The other question is, what gears do I use? The first one is the one that is recording. That is a GoPro Hero 9, and my very first GoPro was a GoPro Hero 8. What I would tell you guys is, basically they work the same. It doesn't matter how latest the GoPro is, they just work the same. It is the GoPro Hero 9 is a bit user friendly, because if you are doing, like, if you are recording yourself from the front, there is a display for you on the front. There is a display that you can see how you appear, but other than that, they work the same. So it doesn't matter which GoPro you use, whether you buy the 9 Hero 8 black, or Hero 9 black, or even 10. They are all action cameras. That is why most of the time you'll see that the camera, even if you go in a very bumpy road, you won't see the camera moving like this. Usually it is a bit stable, and lately I've seen so many YouTubers are using it, so it's clearly a reliable camera. So, and then for my audio, I think this is the second time I'm using this mic. I've never used it before, but it produces some very nice audio. If it is not, please tell me, so that I cannot be embarrassing myself here again. Okay, the other thing that is very important, have a good phone. When you're going to places like Rwanda, you know, it's a very conserved country, and there are a lot of security checks, and all those things, because it's actually one of the safest countries in Africa. There are many places where you are not allowed to take photos. Kigali Genocide Memorial, you can just take photos outside, but you cannot take photos or even record anything once you're inside. That is why in my video you realize that I did not show you what happens in the memorial. You are not allowed to record, and in such a place, just respect that. Respect that, because they have a reason for that. Probably it's for their own security, or for whatever reason they give. It only makes sense for you to respect that. Don't insist on recording. And like in the conventional center, we were allowed to record using a phone, but not the camera. So when you go to Rwanda, you realize there's so many places where you can record or you can take photos with your phone, but not the camera. There is where the phone comes in. So get a good camera, or rather get a phone that is a bit stable when you're recording. Even if you're moving, it does not shake. You know, when the video shakes too much, at times my friend says it can give you epilepsy. I know she's overreacting, but you get the point. When it shakes too much, I think your head also somehow gets distracted. You don't get to see the views properly, or to get the message properly. So carry your phone as a backup. Have your cameras, but carry your phone as a backup. It comes in handy. You guys have also asked me to invite my fans for the road trip. Some people have even inquired what they need to do to get to join my team. So guys, all those trips I've not been going with unfamiliar faces for so many reasons. First of all, guys, we are very spontaneous. By spontaneous, I mean if maybe we know in June we are going, maybe let's say in Seychelles, that's an example. If you're going to Seychelles, I'll just tell my friends we are going to Seychelles. Now everyone will be given their own docket to do a research. Maybe someone else will be checking the transportation, if they allow the cars and the car to go through the border, what is required, maybe the fuel cost, what is the distance, what is the estimated fuel. Someone else will be looking at maybe historical destination to check, maybe how much the Airbnb costs, the type we like, and what is the cost of movement, guided tours and all that. Now once we've decided maybe it is in June, from there we don't book those BNBs, by the way. We don't book them like immediately. Chances are we'll book maybe for the first day, because most of the time we get to the final destination very late, or just along the road. Maybe if we've decided to rest along the road, we usually get there very late, so we might just book the first day. But on those other days, at times we've recorded or we've come from a place even up to 7 and we haven't booked. Will you be comfortable? Actually, if you can be comfortable staying, okay, just going around with us, and by 7 you do not know where you're going to sleep, but eventually you'll sleep somehow. If you're comfortable with that, then you're fit to be in my group, because you're very spontaneous. At that time we even don't know where we are going to have a meal. Maybe it will be very far, but the comfort that we are in a car is what usually encourages us. Because what is the worst that could happen? If we don't find a place to sleep, we can just go somewhere secure, maybe a petrol station, or we can request someone to just give us some space to put our car. You sleep till morning. We've never done that, but it's never gotten to that point, but I'm thinking at some point it might get there, because it's usually good to book in advance. But at times you thought you'll be sleeping, like the day when we drove from Kigali to Arusha, we thought we'd sleep somewhere at the in the middle of the road, not literally. We thought we'd sleep somewhere maybe halfway the distance in a decent town. But as we were going, we realized that most of those towns, they were just dead towns. At night there is nobody. We decided to just drive all the way to Arusha. You see, now just imagine we had booked, and then we find maybe that person is not available that late. Maybe we got there at 2. What would we have done? We would have lost that money. So because we are never sure which day we will be where, and each town, and and how long it will take for us to stay in one town, we do not book accommodation. Because at times, like initially Mwanza, we thought that we'd just sleep for one night as a city where we just transit, but we ended up staying there for 3 days. You see, now assuming we had booked like Kigali for those other 2 days that we had stayed in Mwanza, it could have been very inconveniencing, and we could have lost the money. You know, Airbnb does not joke. People have put very strict measures to ensure that you do not waste their business. So you need to be very spontaneous. However, we're exploring these different places so that we can get to know what to do when you're in different towns, how to maneuver around, the distances. We get contacts from the guides. The hotels where we stay in, we also get contacts from there, so that we can organize a fun trip where probably you'll be required to either you bring your car, or we can get a van. We are yet to decide on which one. We can get a van, and then we just all our fans who would like to go maybe on a Mwanza trip, we can take them there, because we already know the whole procedure, how much it will cost, like what other places to check in Mwanza. We have already made the connection. So that is we could do that as a business, or we could do it just as a way to give back to our fans for being supportive. So there is that plan underway, but so far right now, because we're still going to places we've never been before, we prefer that we don't drag you guys into that whole confusion. It's usually not confusion, As we are just adrenaline junkies, we like when things are that dangerous, unplanned trips. But we don't want to put you through that. We just want you to go to somewhere you've seen us go before and you've already given your feedback. So that when you say, I want to go to Mwanza, you know what to expect. And you also know how to arrange it. So guys, I hope I've made sense there. It would be really nice to tag you along on these road trips if you are spontaneous, because if you're not spontaneous, this will stress you up. I'm telling you, it will stress you up. Now, for example, we are planning to go to South Africa. So you can imagine covering all those countries. We are not going like straight. We'll be going maybe from Kenya to Tanzania. We explore Tanzania a little. From Tanzania, we go maybe to Zambia. We've not decided on the route yet. There are so many routes to use to get to South Africa, but we are still discussing. So if you are interested in such a road trip and you are as spontaneous as we have said, you can join us. You can just bring your own car, your own crew, of course, so that such a trip requires many people, so that it can be so much fun. Imagine we are just a convoy of like 10 cars going to different places. It's just a whole vibe. Every time, even people can exchange the cars where they are using, or rather maybe the passengers. Let me say the passengers can change, even the drivers can change, so that you can have like a wholesome trip. You interact with those other people. It will be so much fun. So if you are spontaneous and you are up for such a kind of trip, you're welcome. We'd really like to have like a whole convoy. It is a place where we've never been there before. We've never done such a road trip, but it would be exciting for you guys to join us. So we are still discussing. So if you'd be interested in that, join us. It would be a journey that will take maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks, because we won't be going straight. We'll be every country we cross, we have to explore a little, so that if some people might never go back to those countries, they will have experienced the country a little. Not too much, but a little. A little is enough. So you're welcome for such a road trip. We'll announce the dates so that you will let us know if you're interested. Yeah, basically that. So we have not said no. We have said welcome, as long as you're spontaneous, so that you cannot get stressed up. Because some people like planning their trips to the latter, and we are very different. We don't plan everything to the latter. We always know this trip will take maybe 10 days or 14 days or 12 days. That is what we usually know. It should take this amount of time. But what we will do and where we will be is not usually guaranteed, because you can Google. Like Mwanza, we Google, we saw there was nothing there. It was just an old city, period. Upon getting there, and as we were doing our city tour, we realized that there is a lot there. So we had to stay for a few more days. I keep giving an example of Mwanza because it is one of my favorite cities in Tanzania. Let's go to the requirements at the border. Requirements at the border in all East African countries. In fact, we just returned from Uganda. By the way, guys, stay tuned for the Uganda road trip series. It's coming very soon. As soon as I post this video, probably there'll be one more video, and then the Uganda series begins. And Uganda is not just Kampala. Uganda is, you'll see. Just stay tuned. So the requirement for all the East African countries that I've gone to so far, basically I've gone to most of them. The requirements is, first of all, personal. If you're not taking your car, you need to have, if you're an East African, COVID-19 vaccination certificate, yellow fever vaccination certificate, your passport, whether it is temporary or the booklet. Now, the temporary passport, you apply in eCitizen, and then you will attach some. You also have to have like a, passport photo. You'll just organize that. And if you have not done it, it can be done at the border. It can be done at the border. I think there are agents who can help you do that, but it will cost you, of course. Something else that is required if you have a car, you must ensure that you have the original logbook for the car. If you do not have the original one, you should have a copy which is certified by the owner, and there has to be a letter or some sort of confirmation from the owner that they have lent you the car to cross the border with it for a certain period of time, and then you'll be back with it. Now, once you get to the border, if you are not sure of which border you'll be returning through, don't leave your original logbook there. Just give them a copy and tell them that you'll be using a different border. For example, if when we were going to Rwanda, we passed through Tanzania. If we had left our original logbook in Isibania, we would have a lot of problems when we get to Rusumo border, which is the Tanzania-Rwanda border. So ensure that you do not leave your logbook there unless you know that you'll use the same route to go back and you're not crossing any other border. Give them a copy and you'll be processed. Everything will be processed. You need to get insurance. Now, each country has a different insurance policy. For Tanzania, for you to get a third-party insurance, you have to pay around, the last time I paid it was around 3,500 shillings. 3,500 Kenyan shillings. All these figures I'm giving you is in Kenyan shillings. 3,500 Kenyan shillings for 1 month. So it doesn't matter when we would return, maybe a month later or something, but as long as it is within 1 month, the insurance was valid. In Rwanda, there's nothing like 1 month. You pay like weekly. We were staying in Rwanda. We were staying in Rwanda for 7 days. So for the 7 days, we got our insurance at 2,000 Kenyan shillings for 1 week. Now you can imagine how expensive insurance is in Rwanda if you stay longer. If a week is 2,000, calculate the rest of the days. And if you do not get like the local insurance for that country, you can decide to get a COMESA insurance from your insurance company. That one you have to do before you leave the country. If you're in Kenya, ensure you get a COMESA insurance. If you're in Tanzania, ensure you get a COMESA insurance. It will help you. Actually, it will save you a lot of money because it will be applicable in any East African border you pass through. You won't have to get different insurance for different countries. The COMESA insurance will work. In fact, when they're checking your insurance, they just ask you, where is the insurance? Where is the COMESA? Now you will be confused what is COMESA. It's just the insurance. There are some places that have, the tour guide fee, and other places do not have the tour guide fee. In each video that I'm merging the videos to make a full documentary so that you can be able to know which places you are required to pay the tour guide fee. In each place I will record. I think in each episode I put there. But the ones I remember are the Sanane place, the Sanane National Park in Mwanza. We paid a total of 3,875 Kenyan shillings. That one is for East African members, and that one is inclusive of the boat and the guide. Actually, the guide is a voluntary personnel, so it was free of charge. But as usual, you have to tip your guide. I repeat, tip your guide. It really goes a long way. It's like the way if you go and eat in a restaurant, you tip the waiter, even if they have been paid. It usually helps them, because maybe the next client they will get, maybe it's 2 weeks or 1 week later. So if you tip them for the good work, you somehow support them. So the 3,875 Kenyan shillings is for 4 people. Now you can do the math. For 4 people. And that one is inclusive of everything. If you need any drinks, you will pay there. There's a place where they sell drinks. You'll just pay there. Okay, and Kant Museum, we paid 400 shillings per head. That one I think is also for East African members, 400 shillings per head. But in Rwanda, most places we went to, we were not required to pay the entrance fee, because we went to a lot of art galleries. We did a lot of tours, city tours. Guys, in accommodation is just like food, depending on where you want to sleep. The accommodation can be cheap, average, or expensive. But where we stayed at, from our budget perspective, I would say the accommodation in Rwanda is more expensive than in Tanzania. Because while we were in Tanzania, the cost for our accommodation was an average of 4,000 to 6,000 Kenyan shillings for 4 people. 4,000 to 6,000 Kenyan shillings for 4 people per night. In Mwanza, the only time we stayed in an expensive place was Rocky Bay. We paid $80 for the 4 of us, and that was a treat because Sharon was having her birthday, so that was a baby girl treatment. Yeah, and it was also some very nice place to stay. That was the only expensive place we stayed at. And I've already told you how much it cost us. In Kenyan shillings, it's around 10,000 Kenyan shillings per night. But you saw how Rocky Bay looked. It looked like it was picture perfect. It's like a place which has just been lifted from a movie. You remember when we went to Zanzibar, our budget was just the same, 4,000 to 6,000 Kenyan shillings for a decent place, somewhere safe for us to stay, for budget travelers to stay, for 4 people, by the way. Now, in Rwanda, most of the time it was 6,000 and above. In Mwanza, in Kigali, most of the time it was 6,000 and above. The cheapest place we got was 5,600, and we stayed there for several days. But as we were going around the country, the other places were a bit expensive. Yeah, at some point it was not making sense, because you'd find a place is not very neat or not very decent, but they have hiked the amount so high. But what I could gather is, in Rwanda, they do not provide much for middle class. Most of the time they provide either for the very low budget or the very high budget people. So the middle class is a bit tricky. So because of that, I tend to assume that there is a gap, quite a gap between the rich and the very rich and the poor. Because if they could provide for middle class, clearly there could be a good representation of that population. So when you go to Rwanda, be ready to pay for accommodation, 6,000 and above for 4 people. Now, the good thing about traveling when you're many, as I always tell you all the time, 6,000 you divide by 4, it is like 2,500. If you could go alone, it could be very tricky. You'd pay 6,000, the same 6,000 for one person. So as you're planning a trips, go with some people. It will help you to save on the money. So, in average, the amount of money we spent per person, let me show you guys. In average, the amount of money we spent per person was around 65,000. Imagine going to Tanzania, we stayed in Mwanza, we went to Kigali, we went to Gisenyi, we went to Rusumo, where we passed by Rusumo, we went to Gisenyi, went to Lake Kivu. Imagine, Kibuye, all that time. 2 weeks, 65,000. Can you believe it? That was our budget. It could be more or less for you, depending on where you are staying, or what you'll be eating, or the activities you intend to do. It is very possible for you to go on these road trips. When you go to any country outside your country, ensure you get a SIM card for that country. It will make your work very easy. Especially if you're in East Africa, it will help you in transacting, because most of East African countries have mobile banking. So it will be very easy for you. And for you to register those lines, you must have like a passport, not the temporary passport, but a passport, the booklet one. Yes, so it will help you very much, and it will help you in finding locations, of course, because you have to load the location. the internet is very different in different countries. Like, so far, Kenya has the fastest internet. Those other countries, they have fast internet, but not as fast as Kenyan. So if you are Kenyan, you'll have to adjust a little. And yeah, you'll have to adjust a little. Now, the other thing, why I've mentioned the SIM card is because you need the internet. In Rwanda, most people speak Kinyarwanda. And chances are, even the motorbike guy, the motos, they call them the motos, will talk to you in Kinyarwanda. So you might need a translation. We went there, we didn't understand. I don't know even why we did not think of turning on the translator, but you might need the translator, and that is internet. So bear that in mind. The other thing you need to know is that when you go to Rwanda, if you have a friend who can take you around, it would be best. Like for us, I'm telling you guys, God's favor always go before us. Every country we go, we usually get very nice guides. We usually get good friends whom we've been communicating with for some time. They usually just agree to take us around. So we are so grateful for that, and for that reason, this is a shout out to Salva, Mea, and Olive. Yes, you guys were awesome, and may God bless you. Imagine they took us around free of charge. Remember that it was free of charge. Other people would charge us, but they didn't. They were good vibes, good people. I'm telling you, anytime I go to Rwanda, I will definitely contact them, and we are still friends. Now you make a lifetime friendship with such people. Even if it is a guide and they charge you, but you vibe, you just become friends. You know, you just become friends. So I'm so grateful for all the guides I ever had. Okay, we also had Mohammed in Mwanza. We paid him, but you guys saw, he was such a good vibe. We definitely make friendship with such people, and such friendship is what helps us grow as human beings, because you're expanding your network. And you know guys, network is more valuable than money. Another shout out is to my subscribers. Guys, I've gained so many subscribers. Imagine we're at 25k at this point. By the time I'm recording this video, we are at 25,000. I do not take that for granted. I've gained a lot of subscribers from Kenya. I've gained a lot of subscribers from Rwanda and Uganda. May God bless you. As you continue watching my videos, may God bless you, because you're encouraging me. In fact, I've come across so many fans along the streets of Nairobi, in Mombasa, even kids. They usually just stop to say hi, and I really appreciate that. That means that I'm doing something right, or you actually enjoy my content. And if there is any criticism you would like to give me, it is good as long as it is a positive criticism. So guys, I will not take that for granted, and keep subscribing, because you know how hot these videos usually are. I'm not doing my own trumpet, but you guys have been saying they are good, so I'll just use that as gospel truth. Subscribe so that you can get notification every time I post a video, and you're just beginning a new series, so imagine the amount of content you're about to watch. So stay tuned, and thank you. Keep subscribing. We are just about to begin the Uganda series. Bear that in mind. And I've told you guys, Uganda is not Kampala only. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know there are many other places we went to, and it was the best trip ever. And now, after this video, we'll put one more video for the documentary for the entire Mombasa, Tanzania to Rwanda trip. And then from there, we begin the Uganda series. So guys, stay tuned, and comment below on any other question that I've not answered, or any positive criticism, or any encouraging words. And see you in the next video. Bye.